How do you change a negative mindset? You know you're in a bad mood. You know you got a terrible attitude, but it's like you just watch it. There's nothing you can do. Well, that's what we're talking about on the Manifesting Guide. Podcast 40, How to Get Out of an Irritable Mood. I think you'll love it. But just before we do that, if you're done with pushing and forcing yourself to get things done without results, come find your Manifest Without Force or Frustration gift at highertrueself.com. It's completely free. Now, let's get on to the podcast. You know the negative mindset. It's like even your dog, who's super gentle and loving, you look at her and she just irritates you. Or, you're taking a walk and the birds are just so loud. It's that state of mind that even just a small hair trigger will set you off. You know it's you. You know it's nothing from the outside. You may even be apologizing to people you live with. I'm just kind of in a bad mood. It's not you, but I don't know how to shake it. You might want to understand what's going on. Well, think about it like this. Have you ever had a mosquito bite? I think most of us have. And some people have a great sensitivity to mosquito bites. It's not just a little bump, a little welt, a little itching, that it grows and it starts to become a sore, and that it starts to ooze, and it's terrible. There's actually a name for it. I know the medical field loves names. You feel like, wow, I've got this disease, right? It's called skeeter disease, if I'm calling it correctly, like mosquitoes, skeeters. And that's a hypersensitivity to the bites of mosquitoes. Fortunately, most people don't have it. I know what it's like because I have it. If I get a mosquito bite, it can take me 3 weeks to get over it. And I don't even scratch it. I don't itch it. I don't do anything. But if I rub it, like, my nightgown rubs it, then all of a sudden it's like an itching, right? Like I am scratching it, and that it starts to get that big whatever. I won't go into graphic detail. It's not fun. So fortunately, I found a couple of tips on, I'll go ahead and dress this, because who knows, there might be other people who get so irritated by mosquito bites. So there's 2 things. It'll sound weird, but we'll get back to the show in just a minute. It's a particular type of toothpaste, and I'll put in the show notes the name of it and how to get it. And it has baking soda in it. So I put a little dab on it, and then I put some citronella. Yes, we know citronella keeps mosquitoes away, but apparently it also helps to keep them from really irritating. So since I've done that, I haven't had that irritation, the skeeter disease at all. So I'm very happy. Okay, so let's get back to the show. So everything's irritating you. What do? You can't just crawl into a cave and say, okay, I'm just going to weather it out and I'll be okay soon, or crawl back in bed and put your covers over your head. You got to get on with life. You got to relate to other people. And maybe there's something that triggered the irritation and you really don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So how do you shift your mindset? Let's talk about some tips now. There are 3 things that I found helpful, and you might as well. First is acknowledge that you're feeling irritable. And if you can, do your best to not put a reason why you're feeling irritable. It's because of this, it's because of that. Because guess what? Even if it's not, you're going to start to make that situation worse. So as humans, we love to figure out what's bothering us, and we spend a lot of time doing that. Probably less time than actually changing how we're handling it and changing the situation. Okay, so try not to blame it, project it, make the reason why. Just notice it, feel your feelings. Second is take a piece of paper and write down what's so troubling. What's so troubling about this? Whatever it is, okay? Maybe it is. You've identified the situation and you just know it is. It's been a recurring pattern. So what's so troubling about it? Just start writing. And you might get some really great insight. And then ask yourself, what's something I can do to soften it, to make this situation a little more gentle, easy, and maybe even successful. You might get an intuitive insight. Now, what I do is when I teach the highest potential programs is that I have the participants focus on their heart chakra and take a few cleansing breaths with their eyes closed and then ask that question of that center. Surprisingly, you can get quite good answers. And then as we work that center in terms of asking it for question, asking it for answers, it starts to become faster. Where you ask the question, you get the answer. It's kind of like how I talk about working with our intuition, developing our intuition, and getting this two-way dialogue. So first, feel your feelings, notice it, try not to blame or project. Second, but if you know what the situation is, just start writing what's so troubling. Now here's really something very beautiful that happens with that, because you're getting a deeper layer. And this usually is, well, I really feel let down. I really feel abandoned. I really feel alone. And that usually is the core, how you are feeling. The first one's more like, so-and-so didn't call me back. The dog is just dragging on the leash and she's not walking. Well, that's that first instant, okay, that's it. That's what we think and we're projecting. But the second one usually is what I would call a true self-wisdom, a true self-truism that's giving you insight into what really is troubling you. And then asking it for some support in how could you resolve it? How can you soften the edges? How can you make it a little less bothersome? Another one, if those two have not helped at all, is to meditate. And I laugh to myself because when I first learned how to meditate, I went to Deepak Chopra's spirit retreat in Carlsbad when he had his center there. And there was one of the teachers who got on the stage and he said, who does this? Emergency meditation. You're having a really terrible time. And he said, okay, I got to meditate now. And instead of regular meditation, they would do the emergency meditation. Okay, so that's an aside. But meditate. And sometimes we do. And I have a go-to folder on my phone with meditations, meditations about 18, 20 minutes long. And that's usually something I can squeeze in. My normal meditations are about 45 minutes. And that is a great reset. And I suggest you use headphones. And if you can get one of those comfortable sleeping masks, you shut the outside world out because normally it's in the middle of the day and it's bright. And when we get that light coming through our eyes, it's, at least for most people, it's a trigger that we need to be active. And so when we put the eye mask on, it's starting to tell the body it's time for sleep, it's time for rest. And that's really one of the big benefits with meditation. I'll do a show completely on what I understand about meditation another time. But is that we're putting the body to sleep. Because it's the body that has been triggered and it's repeating emotions and feelings and attitudes and beliefs and thoughts from our past. So if we can turn down the volume on our body, we can put the body to sleep, the anxiety goes away. This is a fabulous hack. This one really works. Okay, let's talk about 4. So you'll start to see that they're in increasing more effort involved, these 4 tips. So the 4th one is mindset. Change the mindset. And I'm not talking about just doing a quick workaround or a bypass, like I'm very irritated today because I really don't want to have to, clean the house, but the house is so dirty and I'm having a house full of guests this weekend and I have to clean the house, but I really don't want to do it. It's hot, right? So our attitude and our experience with cleaning house accumulates and it gets stored in the unconscious mind. And I think of the body as the storehouse of the unconscious mind. So we've got a backlog of not wanting to clean the house and being irritated and it's hot and turning the vacuum on makes it even hotter. You get the idea. So what do? Well, it's not likely you're going to shift it immediately. But if you are someone who likes to be proactive, and who wants to improve overall the quality of your life, then doing some serious work on mindset and attitude will benefit you greatly. So, shifting mindset and attitude is what we do in our programs, and I would call that blocker clearing. And it's transforming the inner resistance to doing what we need to do, whether we like it or not, and making it having this joyfulness, this ease about it, and an eagerness to do it. So instead of resisting it, resenting it, and hating what is, we find ourselves doing it with just smoothness, great ease. So clearing blockers, we do that in all of our programs. And one of the ones I really highly recommend if you're new to this work is trying one of our home study classes. And I'll put a couple in the show notes if this is of interest, but I'll give you 2 names right now so that you can have them in mind. One is called Breaking Through Barriers, and that is specifically how to clear blockers. And most importantly, it's around the blockers that can cap our money and can cap the amount of love that we're willing to receive into our life, which already that's going to bring greater joy, right? And ease. The other one is called the Fast Money Book 101, and this was inspired by the book How to Get Lots of Money for Anything Fast. And that's a book that started my whole journey on the work that I teach. And that one is specifically, it starts to shift your mindset on how you get things done. So instead of really saying full throttle, I'm going to do this, and pouring your energy and will and using willpower alone, it starts to shift that, and that you become more conscious and more aware of how to work your body, so that the body becomes an instrument of peace. The body becomes an instrument of good behavior, good actions, good attitude. And you also get things done. So let's recap 5 tips that I've given how to change a terrible day or mindset or attitude. 1, notice it, your feelings. Recognize that you're feeling like that. And you could even do the things like, well, of course you're going to feel like that. Yeah, it's, this person's doing that or that dog's doing that. But don't start completely blaming and projecting, because the second step is going to get you more wisdom. But if you get stuck in that first step, you're not going to get much guidance. The second one, take a blank piece of paper, focus on your heart, close your eyes, take a couple breaths and say, what's so troubling about this? What's troubling me? Write it down. And then once you've written that down, just keep writing. Then the next question is focusing on your heart is, what can I do to start to resolve it? How can I handle this? How can I make this easier on me? How can I make this successful? And be quiet and start to wait for a little answer to pop up and bubble up, okay? And the third one is to meditate. Have a few meditations on your phone, or even YouTube has some meditations, and 15 to 20 minutes, great reset. Fourth one is to take your power back and change the attitude, change the mindset. And I have some great home study instant access programs. You can start to do that right away. Now, here's one thing as we start to wrap up the show, is that when we're in pain, when we're frustrated, when we're suffering, we look for quick fixes. We are all like that. Now, mindset, changing our attitude, is not a quick fix. That's something that's a long-term, great benefit to our life. But we need to make that a higher priority, that mindset piece, I believe, because it makes us better humans. We're more loving, we're more present, we're kinder when we're at the checkout for our groceries, we are more understanding with our spouse, our children, our friends. And instead of what sadly seems to happen is as people age, that they become more frustrated, more bitter, that we maintain a playful, childlike wonder and curiosity about life because we're present in the moment. Now that's the benefit of a good attitude, an attitude that's progressive, an attitude that's growing, learning, evolving, and not just repeating the frustrations of the past. Who wants a life like that? So, if you're not triggered right now, I suggest you take the time. These little home study classes, I think they're just total of 4 hours. And you're going to learn a tool that will radically change your life. You can change any attitude, any behavior, any habit that's self-defeating and turn it into something that's supportive. Something that can benefit you, your family, your friends, and in your work. Because here's the thing, when we've got a bad attitude, it impacts us even in our work. People don't want to be around bad attitudes. You don't want to be around bad attitudes, right? So change your mindset and find a way to make life easier on you. Because right now on the planet, it seems like we are being tested. And I know I live in a comfortable place and I'm safe. I have food, I have water, I have housing. And yet, there are tests. The degree of the test, depends on where we are in life. And I'm not saying that we brought it on, not at all. But I do say, just kind of like exams and tests in school, we want to do well with the test, don't we? We want to pass that exam and say, wow, look at how I grew, look what I learned, rather than going down the drain in frustration, wasting our energy, wasting our vital life force. And instead of manifesting what we want, we're just barely keeping our head above water and wasting all that energy in just trying to stay focused on the next step ahead. How about if we were able to envision how we want to handle something and we make that a reality? That's, my friends, what we're talking about with blocker clearing. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe and you'll get notification of our releases, which are usually about twice a month. And you can leave a review at podchaser.com or share it with a friend. So much love. Many blessings. Bye for now.